Alright, so today what I've got going on is going to be making a gluten-free, keto-friendly, low-carb banana cream pie. You may be wondering why I'm saying it's low-carb and keto-friendly, but a banana cream pie are the same. Well, I'll show you as we get going. What I'm going to do is I got, normally a banana cream pie will have 2 cups of milk in it, but to make it keto friendly and low carb, we are adding 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. And this will also allow it to thicken up a lot easier, where we don't have to use flour. Get the rest of this cream out. And basically what we're going to do is we are going to put the cream here, and we're also going to be adding in 3/4 cup of either Splenda, erythritol, stevia, Truvia, whatever you want to use for a sweetener. Mix that up. And basically we are going to keep this on the burner just long enough to where it becomes hot, but before it starts to boil, because if we boil it, we're going to wind up ruining the cream. We don't want that. And in another bowl, what I have is 4 egg yolks. So once this gets up, it's kind of the start of the same way that we make the low carb ice cream. So we've got this going on right here. We're going to let this cook down for a little bit, just before it starts to boil, and then we're going to temper the eggs. And what I mean by for tempering the eggs is once the cream gets up to temperature before it starts to boil, we're going to take a little bit of the cream out, like a ladleful, and put it into the bowl with the egg yolks. And as soon as we put the hot cream in there, we're going to mix up the egg yolks and the hot cream real fast to try to get the egg yolks up to temperature. If we dump the egg yolks into the hot cream, there's a really good chance that the egg yolks will turn into scrambled eggs, and we really don't want that. I've actually had that happen before to me when I've tempered the eggs, and I just didn't probably add enough. I didn't do something right, and it wound up in my ice cream. I wound up having cooked egg. Really not all that tasty. So we want to temper the eggs before, or to try to bring them up to temperature. And then once we have tempered them, we will wind up adding the egg mixture back into the pot with the cream. And at that point, we're going to wind up taking off of the stove, as long as it's thick enough. If it's not thick enough, then we will leave it on there for a little bit. But one thing to be noted is that when it's hot, it will be a little bit more runnier, but as soon as we let it cool off, it will thicken up. If you want it to be a little bit thicker, you definitely could add some xanthan gum, which I am actually going to wind up doing. So I've got 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. And that should be all that we need. If you add too much, it's going to become slimy, and it kind of coats your tongue, and it's nasty if you use too much. So for xanthan gum, it's definitely better to use less than it is to use more. And I think the ratio is about a quarter teaspoon per 2 cups, I believe. Now we got that mixed in. Just let this cook down a little bit and warm up a little bit. Just to about the point where it starts to, before it starts to boil. And the point where before it starts to boil is it's almost there now. If you see how bubbles are starting to form on the edges. Now there's bubbles because I just mixed it, but if the cream was just sitting here and bubbles are starting to form around the edges like that, like little bubbles, then you know it's done. You don't want to cook it any longer than you already have. And at that point we can just turn down the heat. But we're going to let this cook down for just a little bit more. I can see some of the steam starting to come off, so it looks like it's about ready to have the egg yolks tempered and then put back into the bowl, or put into the pot. Okay, see I see a few bubbles starting to form there. So I'm going to turn it down to low, because that tells me that it is definitely done. I'm going to get a ladle of the hot cream, and I'm going to add it into the bowl that I have with the egg yolks. As you see, I'm mixing it up. So now I'm going to add another ladle to there, and then I'm just going to add one more. Just try to get you know what, let's do one more. Just to try to get the egg yolks up to temp, and I can see the egg yolks starting to a little bit of steam on them. So now we can take the egg yolks and dump them into the bowl, and then just mix this up really good. And now I can turn the heat up just a tad. But we don't want it too much because we don't want this to boil. Let's get the rubber scraper out and get the rest of these egg yolks out of there. This is the fat in the egg yolks are going to kind of help this thicken up and bind a little bit, and so will the xanthan gum that was in here. And by cooking this in the heat and kind of letting some of the water evaporate out of here, I mean, there's not much that's going to, but there's some that will definitely boil out. So now we're going to do the test to see if it's set up enough or not. Yep. So you see that I ran my finger across, and it definitely didn't. The line, the proverbial line in the sand stayed. So that I know that this mixture is done. I don't need to cook it any longer, so I'm going to turn it off. And then we can add the rest of the stuff that we need to. Alright, so rather than dirtying up some more bowls, I'm just going to do the rest I need to do inside of the pan here. And you can see it's thickening up. As it cools, it's going to thicken up even more. So we are going to add in the vanilla. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. We are also going to add in about a tablespoon of butter. Seems a bit weird, but it gives it kind of helps give a little bit more of the creamy textureness to it. If that's even a word, creamy textureness, I don't know. And then off for the kind of secret weapon for making this gluten-free and keto-friendly, banana extract. And this variety is gluten-free. This will help give the pie the flavor of bananas. 1, 2. So let's start with 2 and then mix it up again. Just to see if that is the right amount of banana. That is a good amount of banana because it definitely tastes like banana. So now all we need to do is just need to get my pie crust, and we're going to add this mixture to the pie crust, throw it in the fridge for a few hours and let it cool, and then it will definitely turn into like a cream, or like a traditional banana cream pie, where the filling gets somewhat firm, like a gelatinous, and then we can top it with whipped cream if we want.